Hey everybody, Mac here for OCR Kings, and today we're going to talk about how to build an Atlas stone. Alright, so first things first, you're going to need three major components to build one of these things. Water, cement being the first two, and probably most important is one of these. This is a Slater stone 14-inch mold that I got from Rogue Fitness, which I'll provide a link to in the description below. This is the same exact diameter as the male Atlas stone in Spartan race, and according to the manufacturer's instructions or description, this thing will turn out to be about 116 pounds. It's going to be a real treat lifting this thing and lugging it around. So again, full disclosure, didn't receive one of these from Rogue Fitness, even though we would have graciously accepted one. We bought this on our own. If you take a look at it, really nice construction. Solid plastic, I don't know, maybe 2 millimeters thick at the most. Solid but simple, and simple doesn't mean simplistic. It's just well thought out and easy to replicate. It's basically a globe cut in half, branded on the inside. Plug for you guys, Slater stone. Right, it tells you the diameter, so in case you're making more than one, different sizes, you know how big it is, how heavy. Okay, that'll be imprinted in the mold at the end. Pretty neat. But the real smart move over here is this ring. Alright, so there's this thick black plastic ring on the outside of the, we'll call it the top half when we're pouring. It'll eventually be the bottom when it's all done. And it's connected to the plastic globe with some brads or some rivets. You know, guys in the trades, my buddies are going to kind of beat me up over that one. But you got these silver attachments that keep the thing connected. And basically, in the end, when you're putting this thing together, this ring is going to sit on top of the other part and keep the mold together as you're pouring the concrete into it, so it doesn't all bulge out. And also doesn't let the concrete leak, as far as I can tell. Another smart move that they did right from the manufacturer, they give you a nice marker line. This is probably how this thing, I would guess, was cut. Okay, cut into the two sections. So just in case there was a little bit of discrepancy as far as how the thing was cut, you can still line it up just as if it was the original piece. Pretty cool. Also very important. Enough said. Now, there might be multiple tutorials on how to build one of these things using this exact mold out there on the web. That's great. I've seen quite a few. Some of them are pretty good. A lot of them, though, have been done by people who have done this before and obviously know what they're doing. So, the differentiator here is going to be, I am going to use nothing but the instructions that were provided from the manufacturer that were included inside of the mold. Alright, I'm going to see if I can replicate that process and have a successful outcome. Just using those. Okay, so the first step is to spray the inside of both the top and bottom of the mold with silicone lubricant. When you pour the concrete in there, as it cures, it's going to stick, or it's going to at least want to stick to the plastic, making it nearly impossible to take off. So we're going to make sure we spray the inside of this real nice, including the black ring. Kill the grass while we're at it, that's fine. I won't have to mow it tomorrow, even better. And get this nice blast. Okay, now we're going to put our mold together. Line it up nice. Okay, make sure the ring is on the outside, nice-like, and make sure you look inside to ensure that the top half is sitting on top of the bottom half, nice flush. Cool. Now we have to secure this thing together with some tape. And the manufacturer recommended Gorilla Tape, so that's what I have here, plugged to those guys. And per the instructions, it says 8 strips. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. don't know, you can kind of eyeball it. This is going to hold our mold together as we pour the concrete in it. I did for the first one there, nothing super sophisticated or fancy. I'm just going to make sure that is nice and snug and secure. Right on Brad, that could have gone better, but we got 7 more strips to get it right, so I'm going to go around the horn. Maybe we'll fast forward through that a little bit. Okay, now that we've got our 8 pieces of tape, instructions recommend going around 2 or 3 times to the desired strength. Okay, I'm going to just go around the rim. Okay, so now we're all taped up. I've got my 8 strips going up and down. I did go around about 3 times. Alright, again, this is my first attempt at this. Maybe that was overkill, but we got tape to spare, so what the hell. Now for the next step, the manufacturer recommends one of 2 options. They tell you to either place your taped up mold on top of like a garbage can, depending on what size it is, or in the eye of a tire. The idea is this, that when you're filling it with concrete, if you had it flat on the ground, it's going to flatten under its own weight, bulge out, and possibly either leak concrete or turn into some weird egg-shaped looking thing in the end. So having the bottom suspended in the air a little bit will stop that from happening, and there's some other uses to having it off the ground we'll get into in a second. I chose, however, to go with a 5-gallon bucket that I filled with a little bit of sand in the bottom, so that the thing isn't totally top heavy and doesn't accidentally knock over like if you got pets or kids running around. Safety, well, 3rd at least. Top 5, safety. So now the real fun starts. Okay, this is the part where we're going to start mixing concrete and eventually get it into here. Nothing more sophisticated than that. The manufacturer recommends using concrete mixing bags, which I have, until this project, never really heard of. Certainly have never used. Always mix my concrete in a wheelbarrow or a tub, which I am going to do, or for small jobs in a 5-gallon bucket. My idea is this: I'm going to mix it in the tub, and I'm going to shovel it into here because I don't want to accidentally use a shovel and mark up my mold. Also, if I'm spooning it on top, I don't want to make a huge mess and make it go all over the place. We skipped one step too. They recommended in the documentation to put saran wrap around the mold. Not a bad idea. We're going to rely on our superior accuracy, and if not, some paper towels to wipe off the excess. All right, here we go. Now when you're working with concrete and you're opening the bags, it's probably not a bad idea to wear a breather, especially if you're indoors. I'm outdoors, I've never really done that before, so I'm just gonna kind of go for it. But what is definitely important when you're working in the great outdoors and it's hot, you gotta keep hydrated. Now there are instructions while you're mixing concrete that came with the stone that said, at this point, mix in your fibers if they were included in your order. Well, mine didn't. I don't know if they were a special order or they don't ship them anymore. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to use straight up concrete, and we're going to see how well that holds together. So originally I was going to pour the concrete in using a 5-gallon bucket, but that turned out to make a huge mess. So what I opted to do was use a 2.5-gallon water jug, basically from Poland Springs. I cut the top off, used the handle, and I poured the concrete into the mold. Worked perfectly. As you're pouring, it's a good idea to give the mold some taps too. It makes the air bubbles come to the top if there are any. It's also recommended that you oscillate the ball back and forth. It will also get rid of air bubbles and make the mold nice and uniform and smooth on the inside. When we're done, it's a good idea to wipe off the excess cement if you had any that spilled. It's going to help preserve the mold, not make a mess. And you store this thing in the basement of the gym. Okay, it's just, you want to preserve the mold for as long as you can. Keep things ship shape. So just go around the horn and wipe off the excess if you spilled any. So Now that we have our mold all filled and cleaned off, we're going to let it sit and cure. The reports are conflicting. The instructions that came with said leave it alone for 2 days. I've seen videos online that say leave it there for 3 before you take the plastic mold off the stone. I'm going to leave it for 2 as per the instructions that came with. And I'm going to come back and make a decision on whether or not to take it apart. So we waited our 2 days for our concrete to set. We're going to take off the tape and we're going to remove the mold. And then to get the mold off, we're going to use a hammer and this nice wooden block that they included with the mold. Very, very nice. We'll get to that in a second, but first things first, let's get the tape off. It would be really fun if I were a cat. Now, as far as getting the mold off, this is what they said in the instructions. They're going to take a wooden block and you're going to tap off mold, starting with the black rim. Back this up a little bit so we can see what the hell's going on. Okay, it's also a good idea to get something to block it in the front. I'm going to try the old steel toes to see if that works. If not, I'm going to go get a piece of wood. Let's give it a couple of whacks and see what we get. Go. That's a really good system. Good on those guys. Thanks for including this. This was very, very handy. The instructions are right on. You keep it flat to the ground and you prop it with something, piece of wood or your steel toes, boom, off it comes. And we just rotate it around and we're going to use this to knock off the other edge, which I could see being a little bit more challenging, seeing as there's less of a lip. But we'll figure it out. Smooth so far too. Pretty cool. Now that I'm looking at it too, in hindsight, I would have let it sit for 3 days. So we'll be real gentle with this thing. Leave it in place maybe till it's good and started. In the meantime, here we go. Oh, that was easier than the the first part. Nice. Oh, off it comes. So, let's see if you guys can see this. Plug for these guys. Slater stone, 14-inch. Okay. Nice. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. This has been a how-to on how to make your own Atlas stone using a 14-inch diameter mold from Slater stone. Link to this product will be in the description below. If you follow the instructions that come with, you'll have no problems. Just lesson learned. Give it an extra day or two to settle, and you'll be good to go. So, this has been Mac for OCR Kings, and reminding you, as always, train hard, have fun.